Andre, what about Rodney gives you confidence that he's ready to kind of take on a top back role this year?
You know, the one thing that gives me the most confidence about Rodney is his maturity in his overall knowledge of our system and football in general. He has really, really worked hard at learning football, not only offense but defensive football as well, which helps you anticipate.
Andre, what were your takeaways from Izzy's performance yesterday?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Pretty good.
How much pride does that give you seeing a kid, come in here as a 3-star and then, put on a show like he did this past fall and then earn himself a lot of money by showing out like that at a pro day?
Well, DNA is most of that, right? I mean, that's most of DNA. But, you know what, the kid really matured, and that's the whole process, trust the process. Izzy was a talented guy. Let's don't lose focus of that. But what Izzy did, he learned football. And so I talked to a couple of those scouts that interviewed him, and they talked about what anticipation he had, what good vision. And a byproduct of that is being able to know where the line's going, who they're working to anticipate. It's all about anticipation.
Izzy's got.
You see a similar thing with Rodney? Like, he's still
Yeah.
learning?
Yeah, because 2 years ago, Izzy would just run. He'd run in our guys' backs. He'd run the wrong hole. And when he learned where the ball should go based on the defense, and also learned that every run's not a home run, sometimes a 3-yard run's a good run, right? And so Rodney is doing the same thing. He's on the same track. Now, listen, Rodney's DNA is different than Izzy's DNA, right? I mean, Izzy's 217 pounds, ran 4.340 and vertical 41. I'm not for sure Rodney is that, but Rodney's a talented back, and he's gotten a lot better.
I saw Rodney working on the side today with his punch blocking. Is he getting better in pass protection?
He needs to. That's a hole in his game right now. Mm-hmm. He's got to learn how to protect the quarterback.
How's Derek as a learner?
Derek is so in Derek's defense, he went to LSU, played defensive back,
Right.
and then went to running back like the last 3 or 4 games his sophomore year, right? So Derek's got a ways to go. Is he talented? Yeah, he's really talented. But he's got to learn. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts on our offense. We're checking the certain looks. Things move, all the different adjustments in pass protection. So he's behind, but we're going to work and try to get him up to speed.
What's impressed you the most about TJ so far, and how does he fit into that room as of now?
TJ's a hard worker, right? He's a hard worker. He's trying really hard. Same thing. It's so much volume. I mean, if you just look at this script here, we got so many plays, so many adjustments. It's hard to come in because it is a lot, and it's beginning to slow down a little bit for him. He's got some high school Harry things we're trying to break him out of. He can't just run around the edge every time. He's got to stick it in there and run vertical, but he's getting better. So I'm not discouraged at all by his performance thus far.
That phrase, slow the game down, it comes quicker for some than it does others.
Sure does.
But how do you as a coach kind of help expedite that whole process?
This time, free time, come see me. I explain to these guys, college football is like a career. It's not a job, right? Now I explain it to them like, if you're a postal worker, obviously there's nothing wrong with being a postal worker, but when you go home at 5 o'clock, you're done. But if you're a doctor, that's a career. When a doctor goes home at night, he's researching, he's talking to other doctors, so it's your time outside of mandatory time that's going to it's going to speed up the process.
How's the punt team coming along?
Good. We changed some things around. It's a lot of the things we've already done, but we just organized it a little bit better, gave it terminology, and we're just a lot more specific. We got 2 good punters. Okay, we got 2 good punters. We got 2 good snappers, and we got enough personnel to be really good with our punt team.
I was going to say, it seems like, we get to see some of the punt drills. It's one of the only things we get to see, but it seems like you only work 2 guys, and they weren't necessarily the guys who played last year much, right?
That's correct.
So is it just those guys have separated themselves?
That's correct. Yep.
Do you like, I guess Jeff transferred in, right?
Yep.
Jeff, what has he shown you?
He's a strong leg guy. He's got a strong leg. I mean, he's got to work on hang time. I mean, he kicks the ball too far with not the appropriate hang time. But Junko kicked a 70-yard punt on the turf. What's today? Thursday? Tuesday. A 70-yard punt. He punted the ball. We snapped the ball on the -43, and he kicked it out of the end zone. So he's obviously got a strong leg. But if he kicked 173 yards in the game, he's probably going to have to make the tackle. So we don't want it to go quite that far.
Andre, Daniel has told us a few times, like, hey, I can play tailback. I can do things back
he
there.
will.
What kind of role do you see for him this year?
Daniel is like an adjustable wrench. He can do anything. in the backfield, and some things on the line that the tight ends do. He's the smartest guy in the room. And so, like yesterday, I did an experiment. I asked TJ, I drew up a front. I said, come up and draw what everybody's doing on power. Wasn't even close. I said, Daniel, come up. And Daniel coached the play like a coach. He talked about the deuce block, going to the backside. He talked about the gap, talked about the guard pulling, inside leverage, the fullback, where he supposed to be. And I told TJ 3 years ago, he couldn't do that. Okay, so Daniel's, he may be one of the smartest guys I've been around. He can do a lot of things, special teams, offense. He's so glad we got him.
What's the value of that in a room? Sorry.
What's the value of a guy that can do anything?
And to have that when you're not around, to have that type of knowledge.
I don't know if you can put a price tag on it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
For guys like Daniel and Rodney, are things hitting the ground running a lot more this year because, Frank's offense has had a year with them and they've kind of settled in? We've heard a lot of that from the receivers, but how are the running backs handling it?
The same, much the same. I mean, at the end of last year, the receivers and the quarterback group clicked a little bit better. And so we're just picking up where we left off from last year in the running game.
You talked about you got it, Chris.
Well, I think it was last year you kind of suggested that Rodney would look impressive in games, but he was also coming in late in games. So maybe the defense was a little tired and he could kind of...
I think that was more... So last year, Rodney was coming in late in games because we had a guy named Israel Abanikanda. Okay, so they would look at me like, Coach, am I going in? I'm like, you want me to take that dude out? So it wasn't no, knock on Rodney. It's just Izzy was such impressive performer.
Right.
2 years ago, in Whipple's offense, Rodney was a change of pace back. We put him in at the second quarter when guys were a little bit worn out. We put him in to close out games in the fourth quarter. One of the things that Whipple wanted to look at when he came in at halftime was how many plays have we run on offense, because he was always wanting to put a lot of wear and tear on the defense. And then we could put a guy with fresh legs with not a lot of hits on him, and he can go in the game. He was different for those guys to tackle, as you guys saw.
So how much, I guess my question though is, how much of a jump is it for Rodney to now be that guy who goes out there, first play of the game, everybody's ready to go,
Well, here's the thing about Rodney. Rodney is a tough dude. I mean, Rodney, he's tough. So Rodney will get the same yards, I think, and more because he will play more. But Rodney has a knack when everybody thinks he's stopped, he's not stopped. He always finds a way to get 2 or 3 more yards when everyone thinks he's stopped. And that's one of the things that makes him special.
Who are some of the best guys among your running backs who put in that off time, when you're not around?
All of them put in off time when I'm around, all right? And them other guys and those young guys spend a lot of time with Daniel. Mm-hmm. TJ, Caleb, they spend a lot of time with Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Talked about having a couple of punters to work out right now, but this is the second year of Byron as your long snapper too, after having Cal for so long. I mean, How much more confidence does that give that punter room, knowing that Byron's there to kind of manage everything?
I mean, just like anybody else, you think about how many freshmen played for us on defense last year. How many? You know why you don't play freshmen? Because they make mistakes. They don't hear the check. How many freshmen played for us on offense last year? So he's just like a safety or a defensive tackle. He's young, first year playing, so he made some mistakes. He's gotten better at it. He's a little bit more mature. That room is mature, and Ben makes sure they're mature in their own tasks. Last year, I think there was some immaturity. When we held them accountable, there may have been a little bit of, coaches picking on me maybe. But this year, those guys are on top of it.
If you 2 more? You mentioned 2 punters. Sam and Caleb and...
Well, Caleb and Jeff right now are top 2 punters.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We have a final one? Andre, take